Welcome folks, this is Judy, Regenerative Rancher channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. For you new viewers, today's topic is going to be how to start your own grazing farm. I'm starting to get a lot of folks that are very interested in getting back on the land, and some of them already have land. Some of them have a nest egg saved up. They've bought a 20-acre tract, or maybe a 5-acre tract, or it doesn't matter how much land that you purchase. It does depend on what livestock enterprise you want to put on that land. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But the concerns that I have are, a lot of people are green starting out today, and they get all excited about getting back on the land, and they just jump in before they find out how hot the water is or how deep it is, kind of like somebody not knowing how to swim, and they drown. They drown before they ever get started, and they drown in debt, just blowing lots of equity where equity doesn't need to be burned. So today I want to cover some of the things that I've done in the past that have been successful, and some things that haven't been, and I want to keep you all from making those same costly mistakes. Because folks, this is a great business, grazing. We're talking about using ruminant animals to capture solar energy with the sunlight, with our daily grazing management, where we're out there manipulating those animals across the landscape. So you want to think of yourself as this wonderful artist. Okay, I can't hardly draw a horse, okay, or a dog. It kind of looks like a dog when I get done, but you give me animals and some land, I can do some landscaping with those and make some pretty portraits. And just by using the animal hooves, that's what we're talking about. Animal hooves, putting carbon on the land, trampling, and giving it a good recovery period, making sure you have good animal performance so your animals don't go hungry. Because what we're going to be talking about today, folks, is making a living on the land. And I'm serious. I'm not going to sell you anything. I'm not up here to sell you a new tractor or the newest gadget. I will describe some of the things that we use that just work, but I have no incentive. In other words, I'm not getting a huge paycheck from the equipment dealers. I'm just going to tell you the basics of what you need. And I'm going to go one step further. 90% of what folks tell you need to run a grazing operation today, you don't need it. You just don't. And it sinks you right at the start. You go out and buy all this stuff, and you're behind the 8 ball before you ever get animals on the farm. So today we're going to talk about fence. Why is fence important? Well, if we're dealing with livestock, living animals, living, breathing animals, you've got to keep them on your farm. And this farm, and we'll cover that a little bit right here, it could be leased land or it could be owned land. Folks, there's a ton of land out there. Our operation is about 80-20. We've got about 80% leased land and 20% owned land. Now we're in a position where we can buy some of those farms if that opportunity would come about. Our cows will buy those farms. But starting out, it's not a real good way to get started. I think if you just got a limited nest egg, don't go out and blow the whole thing on land, and it doesn't leave you anything for your operating capital. In other words, where are you going to go buy animals from? Somebody going to give them to you? No. So livestock, try and purchase the livestock with your money where you don't have a banker involved. Because bankers, they don't understand livestock business. All they understand is when prices are high for cattle or sheep, they'll loan you money because everybody's excited. Oh, that's a good investment. Here, I'll give you some money. That's the absolute worst time to buy animals. Buy at the peak and sell at the bottom, at the basement prices? No. So get the banker out of your business on the livestock part of it. I understand you may have to go to the bank. Interest rates are low, especially low right now, to maybe get a start, but don't get married to it. Try and get that interest payment erased as soon as possible. Because I look at interest, it's like a hole in the bottom of your bucket. You keep pouring water in and there's a hole in the bottom of that bucket, it's just going out. You're making somebody else's business and their wealth. You need to keep that. That needs to be yours. You're the one working for it, you keep it. Okay? So, fence, number 1. You gotta have fence to keep the animals on your property. Well, what kind of fence are we talking about here? We're talking about high tensile fence, electric. So it's got to be electric. That's what I want to focus on if I don't have any fence. Now, if you've already got a fence on your farm, use it if it's a decent fence. But I do recommend putting an electric feeder wire on the inside. And we're going to talk about that later more in another video. But you got to have fence. You got to control the animals. They can't get off your farm. There's too much liability today, folks. Those animals get out on the road, you're liable for them in most states. Now, if it's an open and range state, no. If you hit that animal, it's your fault. It's not the rancher's fault. But here in Missouri, that's where we're at, central Missouri, animal gets out on the road, you're liable for it. And you are their protector. You owe those animals the right to be safe. Period. And don't bring animals onto your farm if you can't guarantee them safety. Because you sure as heck aren't going to be successful if your animals are always getting out. So don't get in a hurry here. If your fence looks suspect, spend the time it takes to get that fence put in. If you don't know how to do it, go back on my YouTube channel. I've got over 300 videos out there, and a whole lot of them are on fencing, talking about electric fencing. You know, the fencers, the chargers, the grounding, all that stuff. It's all in there. Sit down on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday afternoon. You don't have anything to do and it's raining. Go through some of those videos and find this stuff out. It's on there. The videos are on there. Find them. Okay? So now we've covered fence. We're going to keep the animals on the farm. We're not going to go out here and... I'm not a big proponent of spending your whole life savings on a woven wire fence. If you don't have any fence, I wouldn't put woven wire up. It's gonna bankrupt you. It's a great fence. Woven wire is a very, very good fence. I'm not going to say it's not, but it's very expensive. We can't go out here and lease land and put a woven wire fence on it. We're using high tensile. High tensile electric, 180 to 200,000. That's what people are using now. More of the 200,000 PSI wire. It's a high tensile 12 gauge. Let's see, do I have any? I usually have a piece like, oh, right here, excuse me. So we're talking about something like this. Okay, that's a heavy duty wire. Don't use 16 gauge wire. Don't use 18 gauge wire, 12 gauge. Deer, trees, anything falls on this wire, it's not gonna break. You don't want your wire breaking, okay? And the bigger the conductor, the bigger diameter of the conductor, the more voltage it can carry. Little bitty tiny conductors, they can't carry as much voltage. 12 gauge, you step on that and it's got 10,000 volts on it, it's going to wake you up. You're going to back up. It's a very effective livestock fence, but you've got to get your animals broke to hot wire. If you bring animals in that's never seen hot wire, so that's a clue. Buy your animals from somebody that's using electric fence. When those animals come onto your farm, they're already broke. Don't bring, you might say, virgin animals in that's never seen hot wire, turn them out on your farm, and this is all you've got surrounding it. That's not going to hold them. They're going to go run through it. They're going to get shocked, but they don't know what it was because they were going so fast. So you got to have an area. If you don't have, you know, I recommend having a corral or a small area with woven wire fencing, or maybe even corral panels, and put a hot wire on the inside of it. Leave them in there for a couple days. Put some hay in there and some water. Let them get shocked. So when they reach up and touch that with their nose, or even better, they lick it like that. And I like to tie aluminum cans to it. Aluminum can will attract an animal to it. And they'll go up there and they'll lick that can. It's aluminum can, 8 to 10,000 volts in it. Folks, it gets their attention real quick. They only have to do that about twice, and they're done. They're done. When you turn them out of your pasture, they're going to say, oh, there's that thing that got me. Okay? I like to tell people this is not a physical fence, it's an emotional. It messes with their brain. You touch it, it'll mess with your brain too. You'll remember it, you won't touch it again, or you'll try not to touch it again. So we'll get off the fence. The next one is water. Okay, you got to have water. You're dealing with animals that are 70% water. Okay, with the sheep, goat, cows, whatever, you got to have water. Well, a lot of people go out and spend tons of money, go out trenching everywhere. If you're just getting started, you may not know where that water needs to be. Don't go out and spend $50,000 putting water everywhere when you don't really know where it needs to go. So I would recommend starting out, use what you have out there. If you have some ponds, let's just say you have a, we're going to make a real simple farm here. Let's just say that's 40 acres, and you have a pond located on this end and one up here. Okay. Well, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to split that farm in half, and then I'm going to start at the pond with a fence, and I'm going to graze this, and then I can graze away from that pond. Okay. And this is, don't go by those divisions. I'm just showing you the method. Once you get this side grazed, you can come back over here. You start grazing away from that pond, or you can split it like that. There's just so many things you can do. I guess what I'm trying to show here, folks, is I had a guy call or email that day, and he was going to put in 180 paddocks. 180 permanent paddocks. And I got to get back with that guy. I hope he has, I know he hasn't done, he just emailed me yesterday, but I got to find that email. Don't do that. Don't put in 180 permanent paddocks. It will bankrupt you. Because if you put in 180, can you imagine? I mean, let's just do it. Oh my gosh, how are you going to get animals through all that? It's just a wreck. It's a wreck. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's kind of making me nauseous just looking at that. I'm going to erase that real quick. Don't do that. All you have to do, same farm, get your perimeter fence in, get you some of the poly braid that's on some of my videos, the reels, the step-in post. Here's our water, same water points, and just do it all temporary until you get a good idea how the animals are going to graze that. Then you can start putting in your fences where you want and the water. So let's just say this pond's uphill, so the hill's going that direction. Okay, you could put a pipe in the dam of that pond and run a line above ground that would feed that whole farm. Let's just say it's coming downhill. And from there, you can put in snap couplers. Okay, these quick couplers, I call them snap couplers. They're quick couplers. Again, I've got videos on quick couplers. Plasson, you can buy them, $14.95. And you can have water all through your farm. Every one of those spots is $14.95 versus a $130 hydrant. So you can put water across that farm just from gravity from a pond up on a hill. Well, what if your pond's down at the bottom of the hill? How are you going to get water up to the top of it? Good question. You're talking about probably a pump. Okay, you have to put in a pump house, maybe a submersible pump water uphill, because water does not flow uphill for long distances. There are some pumps that'll pump water out of a pond short just for the cow drinking on them. It actually pulls water up. You're not going to water a big herd that way, but you might get by with a small herd. So anyway, we covered the water situation. Don't go out and spend tons of money putting in water points in every single paddock. You can buy above ground piping, high density polyethylene, 3/4 inch, as long as you don't go over, well, I've went as far as 1,600 feet with pressurized water. So I'm on a water line on this particular farm, and I'm pushing water. Well, here's my fence line, and these are my posts. I've got a polyethylene pipe under that fence, and it's feeding water to 80 acres. And the source where it's hooked onto over here is actually a hydrant on another farm. Here's my hydrant. There's the handle. Told you I wasn't a very good artist. Here's my hose coming down. And it's plugged into that high density polyethylene. HDPE, that's what it's called, high density polyethylene. And if you're going to do it, folks, I use 3/4 inch, 160 psi. They make 100 psi, but the wall thickness on 100 psi is half the thickness. It's not that much more expensive. Get this stuff. A cow can step on it. Even a cow might even try chewing on it a little bit. She's not going to get through it. 100 PSI, if you drive over 100 PSI on a four-wheeler on a cold day, you might crack it. This stuff has been in for 20 years. But here's the beautiful part about putting it underneath the fence. Grass grows up on it. And over the years, you can't even find the pipe under there. Now, this is not a system for winter grazing. I'm just telling you, you can do it to kind of get started. If you own the land, I'd bury it once I find out where I want it. Go rent a trencher and just bury it. And put your couplers on. We're going to talk about that in another video, how to install all that. But you've got water. That's how you put it. Put it underneath your fence, and then at each point, you've got a coupler coming up here. And you just plug this coupler in, and it comes over here to a livestock tank. You know, here's your livestock tank. There's the water on top. And it comes in the side so the cows can come up to drink. And the beautiful thing about having this pressurized water, folks, is you can take that tank like that, move it on down. Here's your next coupler. Set your tank up again. Here's your water. There's your hose going into it. So you only need one tank for your whole farm. That's where it saves huge money. That guy's going to put in 181 paddocks. He's looking at 181 water tanks, 181 water points. Oh my gosh, that's a great way to go broke. A great way to go broke. Don't do that. As soon as I get done making this video, I got to find that guy. I want to make sure he doesn't do that. But anyway, so we got the water covered. We got the fence and the water. What do we need next? We need livestock. You got to have some livestock. That's the way you heal the land. Remember, we are in the solar energy collection business. So starting out, we got fence, we got water, we need livestock. Get your livestock from somebody that's raising them on a farm, preferably with electric fence. Preferably that he's moving them quite often. Folks, you can walk into our herd. Strangers, I'm talking about 300 of you in one group. Come through our herd. They don't pay any attention to you. Those are the kind of animals you want on your farm. If you walk into somebody's herd and they take off running and run into the woods and they're looking at you from behind the tree, that's a clue. They're going to do the same thing on your farm when you bring them home. They may even run through your fence and they're gone. Get animals that are docile. Life's too short for wild animals. They haven't been handled. They haven't been moved correctly. Maybe they've been, you know, cowboyed up with horses chasing them, dogs biting them, whatever. You don't want those kind of animals on your property. You just don't. Go to a farm, find somebody that's grazing them, moving the animals. He's got good looking pastures, so the animals are going to be healthy. That's the kind of animals you want to start with. You're going to have to pay more for them, but in this old world, I found out you pay for what you get. If you buy something cheap, you're probably getting something kind of cheap, and you can expect to have some issues with that. It's the same way on water and fence. Buy the best, be done with it. Don't buy this cheap stuff. There's a couple companies that I do recommend. First of all, on your post, go with timeless fence posts. Go with timeless fence posts. I've got a sample right here. Well, I don't know what I did with them. Anyway, check it out. Timeless fence posts, their website. Those are your best line posts you can buy. Don't go with anything else. That holds up your electric fence, the high tensile. So you got your timeless fence post. On your wire, make sure it's 12 gauge, 180 to 200,000 PSI. I use Paraflex fence. On the quick couplers, you can get those at Paraflex fence. And they're called Plascent quick couplers. Electric on the charger itself, Stafix or Cyclops. Those are the two that I use. And Stafix, I understand, has been bought out by Speedrite. So be looking for Speedrite. That's the chargers to use. I'm not going to use anything else. And you can get those to Paraflex as well. So we covered the chargers, the wire, and the water, and the livestock. Folks, for you all to be successful starting out, here's what you got to do. And this is key. Let me write down livestock first. I left that one out. You got to have livestock. But any business, I don't care if you're selling widgets at the state fair and you make widgets for a living, if you're selling trash cans, whatever. For you to be successful in a startup business, you've got to have cash flow. And if you don't have immediate cash flow, you're going to die. The business is not going to survive. So I'm going to put cash flow clear up here. Can't even spell. Sorry about that. Thinking something else in my brain. Cash flow. And people, I get a little bit upset. I have a lot of, do-gooders and tree huggers. Oh, Greg's talking about making, all he talks about is making money. I'm sorry, but you're not going to do anything on the land. You're going to be thrown off of it on your nose if you can't have cash flow. Period. I don't care how much you like the microbes in the soil, or the earthworms, or you love your animals, or you love growing trees or planting trees or whatever. You're not going to make it unless you have cash flow. Okay, how do you do that? That's the next video I'm going to make. That's the next video I'm going to cover is cash flow. Folks, I see a lot of people go out here and they're doing stupid things, really stupid things. They go out and blow their nest egg on putting in swales or whatever. And that's one example, putting in huge handling facilities. Spend $200,000 or $300,000 on corrals and catch pens and cattle, these cattle gates you drive through, and it's like, what are you doing? You go out and look at the cow herd, and they don't even have any cows because they went broke before they were able to buy any livestock because they didn't have this. They didn't have cash flow. Okay? You got to have that first. But this is how you start. Fence, water, adaptable livestock. Use just good common sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So I'm going to get this at the very end. People are saying, but Greg, why are you doing this? Because I want to help people. And my dad, when he was alive, he's been gone quite a few years, but Dad always told me, he said, Greg, the more you give in this world, the more you receive. And it's true, folks. If we all learn to be more givers and help other people out, it comes back to you. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. So I'm not going to hide what I'm doing. I don't want, anybody seeing what I'm doing. I'm not going to do that. I'm a wide open book, okay? Yes, I give plugs to my books. I've got books on our website, greenpasturesfarm.net. We're having a grazing school in September on our website. Check that out if you want. But I'm not up here to sell you a whole bunch of stuff. I want you to be successful in this. This is a great business. I mean, Isaac and Ben and I and Jan, we go out on the farms and we look at how beautiful the cattle and the sheep and everything's doing, the guard dogs and the grasses and the forbs and the legumes. And it's all because of our management and setting it up correctly. Because folks, I was almost bankrupt when I started down this road. That was in 1996, the year I got my divorce. And thank goodness I made it through it, but I almost went bankrupt because I was following the wrong people. I was following mainstream academia. Everybody's telling me what to do. This is what you got to do if you're going to be in the livestock business, and I did it. And I just dang near went broke. So I don't want you all to do that. I want you to be successful. So on the way out, hit that subscribe button, hit the like, and we're going to see you down the road, and meet me back next for our next video on cash flow, how critical it is to your operation. Thank you all.